Alrighty, today I am joined by Anthony Parker, no stranger to the show, has been on the show several times, and I thought I'd get you on before the CFL season begins, and it's hard to believe that we are here, but we are here.
Yeah.
Well, there is football going on. You are the podcast host of Around the CFL podcast. You run that site on Facebook. I just checked 181 members,
Yep.
going strong. And then you are also a women's football coach um, for a team in Calgary called the Rage, special teams coordinator, and all that fun stuff.
Yep.
Well, again, I love when I get people on that can talk football, sports, etc. And I always kind of get my second win when it's 10 o'clock in the Central Time Zone. And even though stuff's going on, it's a good way to end the day.
Oh yeah, old guys like me, I'm usually in bed by now. So yeah, even though it's like summertime and it's nice out, like whew, it's past my bedtime.
Yeah, there is something to be said about that for sure. It's longer the days of 5, 6 hours of sleep can only last so long. So
Yep.
good. But I gotta ask Anthony, what are you excited about with the CFL season coming up here? Again, new season, spring's eternal. Maybe use kind of the baseball stuff and
Yep.
um, I really hope to see you in Winnipeg, Grey Cup week. We can meet in person.
Yeah, that'd be
There,
great.
there's a lot of good stuff going on, but what has you particularly excited about the CFL for this particular season?
That it's always unpredictable, right? So, a few years ago, it was, the West was super dominant and, the West was all on the winning records and, East teams were making the playoffs with losing records and the tide has changed like substantially, right? Where a lot of these East teams are starting to be, those power players. A lot of the West teams are still those players. So, it's kind of more of that even keel now, right? There's
Yeah.
teams that are, that you got to be excited about. There's teams like, I say it every year because I'm a huge Red Blacks fan, but I mean, the Red Blacks are just, Geno Lewis is there, William Stanback is there. They've got their core, pick six, Pickett, they got Pickett back and they got Hardy back. Mardner went down with a season-ending injury, but then they draft Keelan White, so that's super exciting. Um, I am still I'm not a fan of a certain quarterback in Toronto, and I will continue to say that. But it's great to see that Nick Arbuckle is going to be starting the season. But whatever, I don't like talking about the Argos very much. Um, but then my friend Mark Killam, who is the new head coach of the Elks, right? I'm super excited to see him, and I talk to him a lot, and I haven't talked to him lately because training camp has just been super busy, but. It's great to see him in that position now where he is now the top guy, kind of like Corey Mace was last year, right? So,
Mhm.
man, I just get excited this time of year. I mean, you mentioned about me coaching women's football. I've been literally working since January. So for me, football starts in January when we start, getting our camps together and stuff like that. And then training camp hits and we open the season, and beginning of May. So, and then the CFL season rolls around, which is super exciting. So, yeah, it's just I live football, so I'm excited just that, this time of year, football is back. I say it a lot. Football's back because it is now, right? The CFL season starts right away. So, I mean, what is there not to be excited about?
Well, I know, and again, you have another year of ownership in BC. Again, there seems to be something brewing in Edmonton,
Yep.
kind of bringing back some of the core, um, new ownership, etc., revitalizing that fan base.
Hmm.
I was just watching the Oilers. I think they want to create that at Commonwealth. I mean,
Yep.
again, two different sports, but why can't they have it there? That's always that common denominator. Uh,
Yep.
maybe a new stadium in Calgary. They won't have it ready for 2026. I'm sure there's lots of red tape going on there.
That'll never happen, honestly, because the city and the province just dumped a whole bunch of money into that new arena in Edmonton, and now they've got that new arena and complex in Calgary for the Flames. So you'll never see another football stadium in Calgary, unfortunately. I don't think the Calgary Sports and Entertainment Group care enough about the Stampeders to do that. You know, they just ripped up the turf and they put brand new turf in at McMahon. But then, you know, that's always the worry is when there's brand new turf, those also cause injuries. So the old turf in McMahon caused injuries, so they said. The new turf could potentially cause injuries. I mean, we saw it at MetLife, right? When the Jets and the Giants opened up and everyone was popping Achilles and knees left, right, and center. So I'm nervous, especially seeing, Vernon Adams Jr. and my buddy Dom Rhymes are back together again in Calgary. So I get nervous when there's a new field and whatnot. So I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, totally with that new turf. And then when you say about that, I mean, we saw what happened with Aaron Rodgers,
Hmm.
etc. So yeah, it is unfortunate that sometimes they don't see it with the same vision, because I do think there's still a market there in Calgary
Oh yeah.
for football, even at the university level with the Dinos, etc., with the women's league, etc.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, it is especially with Canada growing, the attendance keeps dwindling.
Yep.
That is fascinating to me, and maybe we've touched on that before. But what would you kind of contribute that to? Is it just um, not in people's minds, not in their rear view mirrors?
No, I think it's just bad marketing on the team side, right? Like you saw it in BC years ago, and then Amar Doman comes in and like they're selling out Upper Deck, right, for opening day. Of course, it's got nothing to do with Snoop Dogg. But you know what I mean? Like even during the season when the Lions are on a roll, they open up that second level and like they're selling out, right? Because what does Amar do? Amar goes to the island and he puts games on in the island, right? Touchdown Pacific last year. They just had the preseason game against Calgary out on the island. He goes from, from the south to the north and east to the west. The entire province of BC is invited and included into the BC Lions organization and fan base. You don't see that in, say, Alberta, right? You don't see the president, Jay McNeil. You don't see him going down to like Lethbridge and Medicine Hat saying, hey, we're the Stampeders, come up, right? You don't see it. And same thing in Edmonton. They're very focused on just their small communities. But then you look at Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan's also a publicly owned franchise, and everybody, I mean, up, past Saskatoon are coming down for, Riders games. Winnipeg as well. Like, there, of course, it's a publicly funded team, but they do a great job of number one, winning, but number two, of getting out there and being out in the community, not just in like the Winnipeg, Brandon area, but they try to go all over the place, right?
Yep.
So, and then you see those narrow-minded ownership groups like in Toronto, and that's where you see the biggest problem because Toronto is steadily declining in attendance, but they're winning Grey Cups because that's what I mean about bad marketing when it comes to that franchise, right? Montreal, new ownership and like just, blowing up, right? Ottawa is doing a great job as well as, filling the seats. But, you see a Grey Cup champion caliber team like Toronto, 2 out of the last 3 years, and they could barely get people in their stadium. That's the problem with the marketing department. It's got nothing to do with fans or, in their faces. It's just they just do a poor job.
Yeah, it definitely it is unfortunate, and if it would be like everybody on the same page. Uh, Again, I was at Taste of the Blue Bombers. Players, coaches are milling about.
Hmm.
Kind of that meet and greet. I meet JY Jordan Younger. He doesn't give me a handshake. He gives me a hug. Uh, I recognize the face right away. That's exactly what he said. So hi, Jordan, if you watch this, right? And but like it engages the fan base to another level, and
Hmm.
with its fans and with its players, and that is the key.
Yeah.
And maybe I talk about this too much, but I think that's ultimately going to be the success, or dare I say, the downfall
Yeah.
of the CFL. I mean, it's just that's how it is.
It's true. Yeah, BC, like I said, I can't praise Amar Doman enough for what he does, right? He also goes down and gets the NFL flag involved, and they come up, and there's NFL players and team representatives that come up, right? Same thing out in Ontario. Emily Todd with Football Ontario. She does such an amazing job with it. And the same thing. She's got, reps from the Buffalo Bills and the Detroit Lions doing, NFL flag coming up into Ontario and blending the two together, like
Right.
does a great job.
Yeah.
But, there's Football Alberta, not so great. And there's, I always say Football Alberta is, late to the party because it is. But but again, it's just you get what you put into it, right? So if the marketing is there and if you're reaching out to the fans the way you should be, then you're not going to have any problems filling the seats, right? Give discount on tickets, you're going to make it back in concessions, right? It's just, business strategy and marketing. Like that's all it is. It's the very bare basics of, business strategy.
Yeah, I mean, I bought three poutines, three drinks on Saturday. It cost me $50,
Hmm.
right? And yeah, there was a bit of a discount. I've paid for my seats months ago, so I feel like I'm going for the games for free.
Yeah.
I kid a bit, but that's kind of the feel. And okay, so we're set here, and that sort of thing. How do you feel a new commissioner of the league is going to maybe implement some ideas, new ideas? A lot of people think the commissioner of the CFL, generally whoever it is kind of just a mouthpiece, a puppet, so to speak. Or where do you kind of view?
Yeah. Yes and no. I mean, the commissioner has to answer to the board of governors, of course. Um, I am a big fan of Randy Ambrosie. I thought he was an excellent commissioner. And if he watches this, thank you, Randy, for what you've done for the league for the last how many years. Did a fantastic job. I mean, but it was no secret that he butted heads with, the board of governors. So let's be real, you can only last so long when that happens.
Right.
Um, and then, of course, there's the TV contract that's coming up, and now, oh, look, the new commissioner of the CFL is a former TSN guy.
Yeah.
I wonder where the contract is going to go. Huh.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, it's got its positives and negatives, right? I say to a lot of people who ask me, how have I gone through my various roles and things in my football journey? And I keep telling a lot of people, football is very much a who you know business, right? It's as much of a sport. It's a kid's game that a grown men and women get to play for fun and for money. It's also a business, and it's really goes back to it's all about who you know. And when it comes to the new commissioner, I hope that he has some good ideas, and I hope the Board of Governors listen. And I was sad when he said that expansion wasn't top of mind for him because I think the league needs one more team just to even out schedules. And, these three bye weeks are all well and good, but, we're starting the season early this year, but we're still finishing at the same time because of all those bye weeks and the scheduling and whatnot. So, I mean, another team would definitely even things out substantially, and it would be good for the league, but I guess we're not there yet. Well, I don't know where we would put a team. I mean, I keep banging the drum for, the Atlantic area to get a team, Quebec City. But yeah, I mean, but who knows, right? I'm not the commissioner, obviously. So I think he could do some good if the Board of Governors just stop being an old boys club and listen.
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely, right? And then you talk about the TV contracts. Again, I remember years ago when the Blue Jays were kind of on CKY, and then they went
Mhm.
some on TSN. Uh, but we see it in the NFL, right? Fox, CBS, and now they've expanded to YouTube and Prime and
Yep.
everything else. And if
Yep.
it's exclusively on TSN, it's like, okay, they had some games on CTV, which I thought more people would be on board with, but there was a lot of people upset. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Sportsnet needs to come to the party, in my humble opinion, on this.
I don't think the CFL is big enough to profit share on television contracts. I don't think with the nine teams and Canada the size that it is,
Hmm.
I just don't think they can do it, right? Where CBS and Fox and NBC and the NFL network, they can all share, okay, we're gonna do these games on these nights and whatever, right?
Right.
Um, it's not big enough in Canada, so I'm fine with TSN having the rights because personally I love TSN. I think I love the whole TSN panel. Kate Bearness, I absolutely adore her. I think she is one of the most powerful women in football, and being on TV every week is fantastic. I love it. I'm sad that Dunnigan's not coming back this year. That kind of made me a little upset because I love the guy.
Mhm.
But I mean, then we see people like Marshall Ferguson and Dwayne Ford calling games, which I like them a lot too, right? Though, and the panel, whoever is going to be on the panel, Stiegel better be back. That's all I can say. But and Dave Naylor, there's a lot of guys and women that work at TSN that I think do a lot of good and a lot of positive for the brand that is the CFL. So. I would hate it if it got spread out, actually. And of course, CTV and TSN are both owned by the same company. So, I mean, I see it, but I thought it was kind of weird too that CTV started carrying games like after Thanksgiving, like so towards later in the year. I thought it was kind of weird. I'm like, why now? I remember back when I was a kid, when I lived in Winnipeg and we were watching games on CBC. So,
Well, yeah, it kind of reminded me of the NFL like years ago. They started Thursday night games like after American Thanksgiving, and now they start at week two.
yep.
And so then they just kind of hop into that. Now nobody bats an eye.
Yeah.
And again, yeah, so and speaking of Kate Burness, she just made a post today about how she's so excited about the
I
CFL
saw.
season and getting it going and like
Yep.
yeah, and she's at that age where, she could be in that seat for, 10, 20 years.
Of course you could.
No question, right? And you know she's passionate about the league.
Yep.
She's not just putting on a show, just okay, filling in time.
Yeah.
She's
Yep.
on point. She knows what she's doing, and
Yep.
I'm sure.
It's
I'm sure.
funny.
Yeah. Mhm.
It's funny when she's off on a week and you have like Farhan Lalji sitting at her chair and he
Yeah.
looks like he's just like completely out of place, right? And then she comes in and just like that, it's right back on track again.
Yeah. It's true. It's like, well, Sanchi or Ace Milt or this or that, and
Yep.
um, yeah, it's I know they have a lot of fun on the set, and I can only imagine the fun they can have here in Winnipeg. Speaking of Winnipeg, what do you think of the Grey Cup being in Winnipeg? It'll be the first time since 2015. That's why I bought three seats. Because I did the
Nice.
math. I'm like, well, my kids will be, 10 years older, and one may be out of the house. So
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not I'm not choosing. I'm not choosing.
Nope,
So I'm buying three seats.
that's good.
They're there.
Good. It's good.
Yeah.
It's see, I what you're get when you get a Grey Cup in Winnipeg, you get what true Canadian football is. Cold as F,
Yeah.
right? So when you get into Winnipeg at the beginning or mid-November, that is football. Like when I was a kid, we used to go to the East Final when Winnipeg was in the East, and it would always be Winnipeg Hamilton in the old Winnipeg Stadium, freezing my fingers off when I'm like 10 years old, but I'm like, I am not moving. Number one, because I was frozen to the seat, but number two, because that game is so much fun. So that's what you're gonna get. I think it's gonna be like that cold football that is what Canadian football is in Grey Cup in November. It's will we see the Bombers there though? That's the big question, right? So um yeah, I don't know. I saw that, Zach resigned for another year. So going through next year, I thought for sure he was done at the end of this year. I thought once if the Bombers can host and play and he's in it, I still think he'll retire at that point if that is the case. But, you know, they got a really good young quarterback coming up. I mean, he's in Green Bay right now, but, who knows for how long. So, they drafted well, I think. They didn't draft for today, they drafted for the future. So, but Zach is today, right? Dalton Schoen is healthy today. Brady Oliveira is that bully ball that like nobody else. So when we talk about Grey Cup in Winnipeg, it's hard not to think about the Bombers being there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think, the team that could push them is Saskatchewan. The guys they brought in at receiver, Elijah Mitchell, Reggie White Jr. It's like, hey, well, the people are going to soon forget about Kenny Lawler being in Hamilton, even Johnny Augustine
Hmm.
being in Hamilton. They lost the corner that went to Edmonton. Uh, so
Yeah, Tyrell Ford.
yeah,
He's just not a corner. He is like the corner.
he is, but for 230,
Yeah.
Edmonton can have him. In my opinion, no hard feelings. It's just a business decision. It's
It
just
happened last year too, right? DeMario Houston went to Calgary. You
yeah,
know, that everyone said that was going to leave a big hole in Winnipeg secondary, and it barely even phased them.
right. Yeah, so I mean, we saw Winnipeg last year get out. I think a 2-5 start. Wheels were
Yeah.
coming off, and I honestly hope that doesn't happen again. I mean, they have you speak of bye weeks, bye week in week one, which is very odd. So everybody's going to get a head start. But I try not to have too biased of an opinion. But I like it. Yeah, as you say, it's hard not to think that the Bombers could be there.
Yeah.
No question.
I've been bagging the Stampeders for a number of years now, but do I think they're going to be in the top of the division? No, 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 no. But in my mind, they've got the number one quarterback in the entire league this year. Vernon Adams Jr., in my opinion, number one quarterback in the entire league, right? And of course, I'm biased because, like I said, a friend of mine is Dom Rhymes, and he is there now too.
Right.
So I was just talking to Dom like about a week ago. So it was he's so excited. And the team look offensively, the team looks good, right? They've got a number one quarterback, which is great. They've got a couple of number one receivers with Dom Rhymes and Reggie Bagleton. Can Jalen Philpott stay healthy? Who knows? Clark Barnes has health issues as well. I'm not a Diedrich Mills fan, so I think bringing in Jeshurun Antwi from Montreal, then BC, who is a Calgary guy, is going to be really good in that running back position.
Hmm.
But I have zero faith in Calgary's defense. I mean, they did some bonehead moves when they traded Cam Judge and they let Micah Awe walk out the door. So offensively, yeah, Calgary's got some strength. Defensively, no, not a chance for me.
Right.
You said Saskatchewan could rival Winnipeg. I am saying Edmonton.
Edmonton, okay.
Edmonton, right? Because Mark Killam's nickname is Killer for a reason, right? Like he is probably one of the most intense coaches I've ever met in my life.
He
And
seems intense.
but he's the nicest guy. So when you walk into his office, like he shakes your hand, he gives you a hug, he talks to you just like you're one of the guys. Then like he put his one foot goes on that turf and instantly he is like next level. But he's not a jerk, he's not an a-hole, he's not rude, he's not yelling and swearing. He just has that energy that makes everyone like pull in and gravitate, right? You want to literally run through a wall for that man. So wait, just watch, right? At what you saw against Calgary in the preseason, that's just preseason. Just wait until Edmonton opens up the gates and just lets it go. And Killam is not scared to go at anybody head to head. So, yeah, I think BC is kind of an unknown because they had a massive overhaul, just like Edmonton did.
Hmm.
So, new head coach, they moved coaches around. I thought what they did to Ryan Phillips isn't fair, but I mean, they must have a plan for that. I mean, they demoted him from defensive coordinator, which I thought BC's defense is one of the major reasons why they were contenders for so long. And Saskatchewan, yeah, they brought it back a lot of their core guys, but Trevor Harris isn't a young guy anymore. Jake Mayer is not a starting quarterback. I don't care what anybody says. That man is not a starting quarterback in this league. He failed miserably in Calgary for a reason, right? He'll be throwing under Mark Mueller again, who was his quarterback coach in Calgary before. But he's not a starting quarterback at all. So, when it comes to the West, I would say Winnipeg or Edmonton are those. They're going to be that battle.
Well, and we did see Edmonton, come on last year. There were games, Jarius Jackson, who's now in Winnipeg coaching, but
Hmm.
he came on and you could see it. And now with the new regime there, yeah, that actually doesn't surprise me. But I have heard the Saskatchewan um, narrative as well.
Yep.
But yeah, I wouldn't it wouldn't shock me at all either if Edmonton was challenging Winnipeg. No.
Yeah. And BC's offensive coordinator is now Edmonton's offense. Jordan Maximic is
Yes.
now in Edmonton as well. Like, my God, right? And Killam, I actually thought Killam was going to take on the special teams role and head coach, but he didn't, which surprised me because yeah, there's not a better special teams coach around than him. But no, he handed it off to somebody else, was surprising. I think the East is a little bit of a tougher conversation.
And so why would you say that? We saw would it be maybe Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto's not as good, or how do you kind of see that, or maybe Hamilton there with Ted with all the stuff that he's
Ottawa,
working
Hamilton. Yeah, I'd say Ottawa and Hamilton. Um, Montreal let Cody go, and that was a wrong move. They traded Cody Fajardo to Edmonton for McLeod Bethel Thompson. McLeod Bethel Thompson doesn't play second fiddle to anybody, right? And Montreal has already said Davis Alexander is a starter. McLeod's going to come in and he will stab anybody in the back to get ahead. So there's going to be a battle, and there's going to be a quarterback controversy there. And I see Montreal kind of fading. They had that Grey Cup, and since then, it just hasn't been as strong. Last year, I mean, they started out fantastic. They were running it. It was Montreal, Ottawa head to head all the way through, and then they just fell apart close to the end. Of course, so did Ottawa, but whatever. Um, Hamilton's done a lot of good. Yeah, Hamilton, bringing Lawler in there. They drafted well as well. They've Bo, if we get 2024 Bo again, that's going to be really big for him as well. But I still think Ottawa has done enough to keep what they had as well built as building on it and draft. I think it'll be Ottawa, and I'll say Ottawa Edmonton as a way too early projection for a Grey Cup.
Hey, I like it on May 27th. That's all good. Uh, but yeah, I hear you on that. When again, a few surprising moves, but that's what sports is. A Fajardo, yeah, wrong move in my opinion.
Hmm.
And again, with Hamilton, again, the moves they've made.
And Ted going there, yeah.
Ed, I mean, just everybody's saying they're half of Winnipeg's there and what have you. But and I know you were in our last conversation, you were very irate with how Bo Levi Mitchell was treated.
Yes. Yes.
You were
Should have been
maybe
MOP.
yeah. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yep.
And he was pulled for unnecessary reasons, etc. Um,
Yep.
came within a whisker of beating Winnipeg here.
Yep.
If it wasn't for late dramatics with Kenny Lawler, I mean, it's just incredible, right? And so,
Most passing yards in a single season, and he was benched for 2 games.
yeah,
Like, come on.
right.
No. And Ottawa, yeah. I don't understand some teams, right? Like BC goes and brings back Nathan Rourke and trades away Vernon Adams Jr. I don't understand that. And Hamilton benches Bo, and then all of a sudden they go back like, "Oh, hey, we need you," and he's like, "Oh, who, me?" You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
yeah, uh, Saskatchewan, Saskatchewan. That's the weird one, right? They brought in Calgary's number one and number three quarterback, right? Tommy Stevens and Jake Mayer. They
Which
brought
both played
both of
on
them over,
Saturday.
which is weird,
Yeah.
but whatever. I mean, you know, my big thing is not for this year, but think about it in a couple of years from now. Think about how many Canadian starting quarterbacks we could have in this league at one time, right?
Right.
If you look at it, okay, go BC, Nathan Rourke. Okay, Calgary will probably still have Vernon, and he's not Canadian. That's fine. Edmonton, Trey Ford.
Trade forward.
Winnipeg, Taylor Elgersma,
Yeah,
right?
from Laurier.
Canadian,
Yeah.
right? Saskatchewan, Curtis Rourke, knock on wood, he doesn't pan out in San Francisco. Okay.
Hmm.
4 out of the 5 West Division teams will have a starting Canadian.
Yeah,
Like, my God, that would be cool.
that would be that would be nuts because
Yeah.
all these years later, it was okay. Russ Jackson. Well, who's next, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be that. It wouldn't surprise me at all. With Nathan gets all the headlines, and then we saw Curtis. I think he got drafted in the third round.
229 to San Francisco.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, and
Yeah.
I do think he'll make his way up here. No question.
Yeah, not this year, but yeah, because he was actually drafted, right? So he's going to have more of a leash and kind of have a little more leeway than, say, Taylor in Green Bay, because Taylor signed as an undrafted free agent. So, when you think about him, is he going to have the same? No, he's not, because he was just, look at Hayden Harris, for example, right? A player like that, right? He was invited to camps. Look at uh, Connor Shea, right? Prime example, right? He was boasted as probably being going number 1 overall, didn't, had the camp invite to the New York Jets, didn't pan out, and he was in Winnipeg for camp.
Yeah.
Are you going to see that with Curtis? No, because like I said, he was drafted, right? They actually spent draft capital on securing him. So, that's where it's going to be a little bit different for him than Taylor Elgersma in Green Bay.
Yeah, that reminds me of when Kurt Warner, if you watch the movie, he goes there,
Yeah.
throws a few
Yeah.
passes. Okay, well, no, actually, you're done.
Yep.
But I think it'll be a bit longer than that. And again, just the ages, etc. And I'm blanking on what the age of Jordan Love, but they've secured their money in Jordan Love. So
Oh, yeah.
if you want to play. Um, I don't think it's a secret that yeah, there's a pretty good chance he'll be up here, no question, right? So we'll see how
Yep.
that all pans out. And again, some of these moves that make like with Rourke, with Nathan Rourke in BC. Well, of course he was going to go back there, but I
Yep.
think Vernon Adams is the better quarterback. But that's just how it goes, right? And
Hmm.
it's just it's just weird. And you know what? And yeah, dare I say, Vernon probably has those games marked on his calendar.
Yeah, I said it last time I was on your show, and I said that no matter where Vernon Adams Jr. ends up, when he goes and plays in BC Place, all you're gonna hear in your head is "Look What You Made Me Do" by Taylor Swift. Like, he's gonna go in there and be like, "You did this.
Yeah,
You made me do this.
right.
Right? You traded me away. Now I'm gonna destroy you."
Hmm.
And that's what's gonna happen.
Well, yeah, that's exactly it, right? And again, we'll see what happens in BC here with a full count with Nathan Rourke. He is not coming back from, the Giants and the
Yeah,
Jaguars, and
he's getting a full camp.
he's getting a full camp, and 2022, and now we're in 2025. The years go on, and I take Nathan Rourke, no doubt, right? But again, we saw what BC was doing. They were clicking along, and then he came into the room.
Yep.
And I don't think it's a far fetch to say that it probably split the room.
It did 100% it would have. I mean, you could see it on the field, right? He was not good, but again, he was also running around since way early, way before that, right? Earlier in the year, he was doing workouts with like Jacksonville and the Giants, and he was everywhere
Yeah,
last year, right? So, did he come into BC tired? Most likely,
right,
right? And burnt out. So, yeah, chances are Vernon Adams Jr. got injured at the wrong time. Of course, it happens, right?
right.
So this year, Nathan Rourke will be good. He's got Jeremiah Masoli backing him, which is, future Hall of Famer, no question about it, right? Masoli is going to be there and help Nathan out. But the better quarterback for me, I would still take Vernon Adams Jr. over Nathan Rourke myself.
Hmm.
Not just because I'm an Oregon Ducks fan and that's where Vernon went, but just because overall I'm a Vernon Adams Jr. fan.
Yeah, the body of work, and even before he
Yep.
went to BC, you looked at his time in Montreal
Yep.
and what he did there, and he established a culture with him and I believe Kahari Jones was the coach at that time, right? And
Yep.
creating that, and then okay, well, then he was expendable to go to another team, but in the CFL, you're six degrees away from separation, so it would appear.
Yep. Yeah, I knew that Vernon would not go to Ottawa when everyone was saying, where is he going to go? It was a no-brainer. It was going to be Calgary. But I knew for sure it would not be Ottawa because Campbell's the special teams coordinator there. And I think well, obviously if I were him, I would blame Campbell for it. He was the head coach and GM in BC. He's the one that, screwed you over and brought Nathan back. So, you know, out of all the teams that were on the table for Vernon to go, I knew Ottawa would not be one of them.
Right. Yeah, that would totally make sense, right? So,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
I gotta ask you, since you are in Calgary, do you have season tickets to the Stamps this year?
I do. Yeah.
Okay, right on.
I do. Yeah. It's my first season buying them because, as you know, I used to work for the Stampeders for a couple of seasons, so I
Mhm.
never needed them because I was there. So yeah, I took last year off from going to games. I think I only went to maybe one game last year, which is weird for me. But yeah, this year, yeah, season tickets. So I had to miss the first preseason game because I was coaching the Rage and we were in Edmonton and we won the game and locked up the division. So now it's
Nice.
kind of for me preseason game or winning the division. I had to go win the division. So
I totally get it. And as a season ticket holder, maybe next year I will sell my tickets to the preseason game because all I saw were field goals on Saturday, and I'm like,
yeah.
well, I mean, again, uh, I'm glad I was there and whatever, but that's kind of how it goes. And yeah, I would take winning the division. So how long have you been coaching with the Rage?
This is my first season with the Rage, but I've been coaching women's football for I want to say 4 years.
Hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, this is my first year because we just recently moved back to Calgary. So in November. So yeah, this was my first season back living in Calgary again. So yeah, I had to go and do it and glad I did because yeah, we're not we just locked up the division. So we have a game this week against Lethbridge, which I hate to, take a team lightly, but it's Lethbridge. So and the fun thing too is the winning team from the division that the Rage is in is hosting the national championship game this year. So, yeah, chances are we're going to be hosting the national title game here in Calgary
Nice.
at the late June. So I'm excited for that.
Any idea if that game's going to be streaming on any streaming services
I
or
hope so. I
yeah,
hope so. Yeah. I mean, you guys have the Manitoba Fearless, right? So same league. So yeah, the Fearless are in the same division with Regina Riot and Saskatoon Valkyries. And then my division is the Edmonton Arctic Pride, who used to be the Edmonton Storm, the Calgary Rage, and Lethbridge Steel.
yeah. Okay.
So yeah, and the way it works is because there's only three teams in each division. Basically, the regular season is more like a round robin style, so it's more for seeding. So one gets the bye, two plays three. So
I see.
yeah,
And you're saying that game is going to be at the end of the month here?
our last home game. So June 28th is the WWCFL championship game.
Okay. I
So
should say in a month. It's May
yeah,
27th already.
actually, yeah, a month tomorrow, basically. Yeah, so yeah, we have Lethbridge this Saturday in Calgary, and then we'll be out. We have a bye week after that.
Mhm.
Then we have another bye week because locking up first place, we get that. So we actually, as after Saturday, we won't play football for 3 weeks. So it's may not be a good thing, but I mean, yeah, it's it's a blessing and a curse, right? Because you have the injuries and you want the women to heal up and get ready, but at the same time, that's when the rust starts to happen, and yeah, people get complacent. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting thing to deal with.
Be like the Chiefs. It'd be like they had their big game versus the Steelers on Christmas Day, and I don't think they had a meaningful game until the
Hmm.
game in the divisional, or not in the divisional, but
Yeah, yeah, it was a
yes, it was
divisional.
a divisional. Pardon me.
Yeah, because they had the bye for the wild card weekend.
Yes, they did. Yeah, that's
Yep,
right. So it'd be the same sort of time gap. And
yep.
so what do you enjoy the most about coaching in particular, especially this year?
I love coaching women's football because they want to learn and they have, I don't think this, but a lot of them do. They have more pressure on them than, the boys and the men do because, we're still as a whole, as a collective, we're still trying to fight to build women's football, right? And like I said before, Football Alberta is late to the party, and they're always behind. I said Emily Todd earlier, she does such an amazing job with Football Ontario, but also for women's football. So I enjoy it because, there is some very, very talented women on this team. I would take some of these receivers, because of course I'm the receiver coach, over a lot of the boys that I've coached in the past, right? Like we have some stars on this team at receiver, but we have stars on this team everywhere, right? We have a girl, her name is Jess. Her nickname is Tank, right? Never played football before, but she plays like Max Crosby, I swear to God. And this is her first year playing football. Like this woman is a beast and she's awesome, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and we have a lot of really strong, talented. Erin Walton, she's been playing football for a very long time, and yeah, she made the joke a couple days ago at practice. She's like, if I were a boy, I would have been in the CFL, and no doubt about it, right? Like 100% she would have, right? So. Yeah, I could go on and on about players on this roster that are just good, especially I'm also a special teams coordinator too, right? Because I think special teams is the most fun part of a football game. So it can turn the tide
Yeah.
one way or the other, right? So yeah, there's just a lot I love about women's football and coaching women's football. And I get excited, right? Like when there's days where, practice rolls around and you're like, oh, I don't want to go to practice. But with the women's team, every practice, I'm stoked. I get up, I'm like, all right, tonight's practice, let's go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, again, destroying the gender thing, right? Like it doesn't have to be just accustomed to, men playing this game. There's lots
Yeah.
of women that love the game, love to play it. You've mentioned Maya Turner before.
Yep.
I still can't that speech that Dolby had in the locker room after the game about the
Yeah.
obstacles, etc. Like
Yeah.
that's a watershed moment in this city.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in university football, period.
Yeah. We have a running back. Her name's Bailey Kennedy. She's like a Brady Oliveira style running back, right? She's powerful. She's not the fastest in the world, but she is powerful when she gets those legs moving, right? So, but at the same time, she plays football, but then she coaches for Football Alberta with the U18 national team, right?
Right.
So, same thing with, there's a Christy Granite. She's one of my receivers. She's a receiver, but now she's also an official, right? So she referees in the Calgary Football Official Association, right? Angelina Pilardi, another receiver, and she also plays DB, but she goes and coaches too, right? Ashley Shoemaker, same thing. She's a quarterback, she's a lineman, but then she also coaches, right? So there's a lot of these women that are on this team that want to play, but they're also out in the community giving back and in developing more as well and developing the next level, right? So we're finally going to be getting to a point here where, we look at some of these players who might potentially be aging out soon, retirement, you can't play football forever. And, a few years ago, when you looked at it, we were like, oh God, what are we going to do next year? If heaven forbid a couple of these women don't come back,
Right.
what are we going to do? Now it's it's not as worrisome anymore, right? Because now it's to the point where, okay, well, these women are out developing the next level. So the U16, U18, U19s, they're gonna come up now into the program.
Yeah, that's exactly it, right? It's about passing that torch, and yeah, again, you don't, as you say, you don't worry about it as much if they're cultivating in, that can only produce a better football crop coming up, right? And
Yeah.
again, creating
And
that culture for it.
Yeah, and the other really good thing about the Rage too is that, some of the women on the team are actually on the board as well, right? So like Jolene Goulart, she is probably one of the best receivers as well next to Erin that I was talking about. But she's on the board. N Nadine Goldage, she's been on the team forever and she's also the team president. You know what I mean? So like it's great that the players are also on the board. So it's not just some board, sitting back in a boardroom talking. It's
Right.
these women are on the field as well. So yeah, it's just I love women's football. I think it's fantastic. And it's just we got to break those barriers. We have to break those glass ceilings.
Hmm. Well, I mean, back in the day, there was the player's coach, right? There was actually a
Yep.
coach that was the player, and uh,
Yep.
that's a common phrase now. Well, he's a player's coach, but that was literally what they were doing. I think that was more in the baseball or whatever. Uh,
Yep.
but again, if you're walking in those shoes, you understand, you fully encompass it, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, and you get it. And you're not just, as you say, sitting on the board and just, well, okay, well, it's
Yep.
easy. No, if you're in the trenches, no pun intended,
Yep.
you kind of get it a bit more.
Right. And I can't wait to see more women coaches, even in the CFL and the NFL as well, right? So Tanya Henderson wasn't back in BC, which really sucks. But I mean, it's just a matter of time before we start seeing more, right? Like there's even in the NHL we're seeing, right? So it's fantastic. So we need to see it more across the board where, it's not oh my God, there's a woman behind the bench. No, we need to get to a point where she's a coach just like everybody else is.
Right. And we saw that in Super Bowl 54. There was the one coach on the 49ers. She's from
Yep.
Houston, Kansas. It's like,
Yep.
okay, wow. Yeah, with the crack in there with Jessica,
Yep.
again, we shouldn't be phased by these things. These things are good. Maybe Haley Wickenheiser started this. Who knows? But
Yeah.
it's and again, oh, I had the community coordinator on
Hmm.
for the Bombers, Kezia.
Yep.
And she openly admitted, I never really watched football until I got this job. But she understands it. Like I saw her at the Taste of the Blue Bombers.
Hmm.
She says what I love about the game is understanding each position. And like she's not just there filling the position. She wants to understand and learn. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, all right. This is a good thing.
Yep.
And that can only bode well, right? And then she can tell her friends and more people come to the game and it just kind of blossoms from there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Good, good. Um, I should have had a glass of water. My throat's, I think, okay. But maybe
I
some,
have Coke Zero on me at all times.
okay, it's good. I don't have any Coke. I don't have any Coke in the house now because you kind of get to that age where you're like,
That's why I'm on Coke Zero now, right?
okay,
So I'm at that point where
right.
now I'm going out trying to get out of the sugars. So
Yes. It's exactly it. I may get a Slurpee when my son wants one too, so I'll get my own. Anyhow,
yeah.
I should go for a physical soon.
Men's health and women's health. There it is.
Yes.
Get yourself checked.
Yeah. Maybe after game seven of a Stanley Cup final game in overtime when Lowry scores, but uh,
I don't care anymore that Golden Knights are out, so
okay. I was going to ask you a hockey question here, but so you don't care. The Golden Knights are out.
the Jets are out, Golden Knights are out. I don't care anymore.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair. So yeah, so that destroys the myth of I remember years ago when the Flames made it to the finals and everybody was on the Flames, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
2000. Okay, like people were driving out to Calgary from Winnipeg, going on
Yep.
Fifth Avenue, and I just all I'll say is I heard stories. Um,
Oh yeah.
right, and
It
it's
was interesting for sure.
I mean that was a team. I think they were the sixth seed, and go to the finals. And
2004. Yep. I remember that
2004,
one.
they're up 3-2 in
Yep.
the series. St. Louis scores in Game 6. They're losing in Tampa.
Yep.
Um,
They did not lose.
and so do you go by this notion that we should all get onto Edmonton?
No.
And because the cup hasn't been
No.
here since you were 12 and I was 14.
No.
No, okay.
Nope. Don't care.
Okay.
Nope. I'm not a believer in you have to cheer for a team because they're Canadian. That's because that's what a bandwagon fan is, and I'm not about it, right? So I've been a Raiders fan since 1990, right? So do I jump on the Chiefs bandwagon? I can see that clock behind you. No, I hate the Chiefs.
It's fair.
So you know what I mean? No. Do I like players on the Chiefs? Most definitely I do, right? Travis Kelce, I really like watching Kelce play. And I am a Swiftie, but I've liked Taylor Swift since before they started dating. But so for me, it's just like, oh, hey, cool. I like Patrick Mahomes as well. So I can appreciate, right? I hated the Patriots, but I love Tom Brady as a quarterback. I thought he was amazing.
Yeah.
But I don't subscribe to the bandwagon fan. I definitely do not. I'm a Raiders fan, and that's the end of it. I'm a Golden Knights fan for hockey. I don't jump on bandwagons. The CFL is the only kind of different thing where I watch every single game every week.
Hmm.
Because I mean, it's easy, right? It's only 4 games.
Right.
So, and they're not playing at the same time. It's easy for a fan to watch every game every week. And I do, right? I'm a Red Blacks fan and I always will be, but I can appreciate every team in the CFL and I watch every single game. No
Yeah.
matter if I like the team or not. Do I like the Argos? No, I don't. Will I watch an Argos game? Yes, I will. I'm just hoping they lose.
Yeah, that's fair. I like that strategy. And
Yeah.
that's why I think football is the most easiest games to watch because they're all slotted times compared to, the NHL. Well, there's 12 games on in a night, and you're like, okay, well, how can I keep up here?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the NHL center ice package. I used to, but even then, you're flipping around, and okay, well, you got to settle on a game, and
Yep.
yeah, it's hard, right? So,
Yep.
but I
I
but
only
I I
I only
appreciate
have I only have cable because of TSN.
yeah.
That's all. I don't watch live TV ever. Ever. I have it because TSN, so I can watch football because TSN Plus lags too much, and so does the CFL Plus. They lag too much. So I'll spend the money because I mean cable's so cheap these days. I mean, you're barely paying for it, right? So
Yeah.
and everyone has internet and you just add a little bit on to get TV. So it is what it is.
Right.
So, but yeah, I only watch live TV for the CFL season.
Yeah. That's good. That's all right. Again, that is an appreciated perspective.
Yeah.
It's good because I think a lot of people are like that because again, from 2004 Flames, and then it was like, well, then there were the Oilers in '06, and then we saw on
Hmm.
the next year. It's like, hey, well, this
Yep.
cup hasn't been back since Bettman became commissioner. I don't know if that's a coincidence or what have you. Um, but I mean, as I say, a lot of American teams that win, there's a lot of Canadians on those teams. So
Yeah, I don't believe in that either. A lot of people who say, "Oh, Bettman hates Canada." You can't. It's physically impossible. Look at every roster in the NHL. Show me a team that doesn't carry a Canadian.
yeah,
Like, come on,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Or for that matter, how many teams used to be Canadian for the, you know what I mean? So like, Phoenix used to be Winnipeg, who are now Utah.
sure.
So I mean, really,
Oh,
you know what I mean?
yeah, Colorado,
So
Quebec.
yeah, exactly. Quebec, Colorado. It's you can't do that. Yeah, for people who say that Bettman hates Canada, I think that's just, sour fans. That's all it is, right? So he doesn't control. everything that happens, right? He's not like the Wizard of Oz.
No.
So, yeah, I don't believe that. It's just I think that Americans are getting better at hockey. I mean, that's all there is to it. Look at Florida. Who would have thought Florida could carry an ice hockey team, let alone win the Stanley Cup?
Right. Right. We see that with
Multiple
Tampa.
times. Tampa Bay's won how many? Florida is about to repeat. They're about to go back to back.
Yeah, and they're about to go back to back to back, go to the
Yeah.
Stanley
To
Cup
getting there, and they're going to
final.
win two in a row. If they play Edmonton in the final, they're winning.
You think so, eh?
Oh, yeah, they're going to win again. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I go back.
And
I'm
LA.
not blaming the Leafs for that, right?
Yeah,
The Leafs had them on the ropes in game three.
exactly. The Leafs blew it.
The
And
Leafs,
look at the LA Kings, right? So, when Daryl Sutter was there, they won back to back. So, I mean, it's funny to see hot temperature cities with ice hockey teams being competitive and winning.
yeah,
It's just weird,
it is.
but cool. But I mean, that just goes to show that Americans are getting better at hockey, and they're also bringing in Canadians to play hockey. So, who
Well,
knows?
when LA won, they had the Jared Stoles, they had, well, Jonathan Quick's the US, but you know,
Yep.
they had that nucleus there of players of Canadian content.
Mhm.
We saw that with Tampa Bay, etc. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's
When I when
mhm.
I was a kid, I was a hardcore Yari Curry fan. Loved Yari Curry, and I loved the Oilers back then. I did. Big Oilers fan back then when I was young.
Yeah.
And then some young guy named Timu Solani showed up in Winnipeg, and my whole mind was blown. And that was
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, yeah, 76 goals, shatters Bossy's record.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um,
Zamnov, Kachuk, and
yeah,
Solani. I mean, those three guys right there just ruled the league.
yeah, yeah, no doubt.
But yeah, so like I said, I don't really do the whole bandwagon thing. So it's just when I was a kid, maybe, right? Because
Right.
oh, that player is so cool. Like, baseball, same thing, right? Like when I was a kid, I was a big Mariners fan because Ken Griffey Jr. was awesome,
Yeah.
right? So, but I don't watch baseball anymore. I mean, I just don't.
Well, and to that adage, I mean, I look at the Jays. I don't know what they did tonight, but they're always around 500. They're always 5 games back, and it's just the
Hmm.
same old. Yeah, you have the one-off years, but
Yep.
like, give me something. I'm not going to invest my entire nights into them going into a best of three series in October, and they're done.
Yep.
It just, I can't, I can't go there. So I'm not.
Yep. The only baseball merch I have in my house is a Chicago White Sox jersey, but it's got number 8 in Jackson for Bo Jackson because Bo was my idol. So I've got a White Sox Bo Jackson jersey. That's the only thing in my house I have. I have a White Sox hat and a White Sox jersey. That's it.
That's it, eh?
Yep. And
But
it's for Bo.
yeah, but I see
And
all the football stuff in the back there. It's great.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's my shrine. I've got two bookshelves. The far one is all NFL and this closer one's all CFL.
Nice.
Yeah.
That is awesome. That is sweet.
Yeah, so I started getting my mini helmet collection there for the CFL. So I've got five now. Hamilton is on its way, so I'll have six of nine here pretty quick.
Right on. That is good. Maybe you have to post some pics on the page with some of that stuff. You're more than welcome to do that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm pretty stoked about it. And I've got my new etched around the CFL glasses and coffee mug up there. I got my new hat here and my new shirt.
Yeah.
So yeah, from my podcast, I've got that stuff up there.
Right
I've
on.
got my wife and I had pop figures made a few year last year because you can pop yourself now at on Funko. So my wife those two pop figures right there, those are from my wife and I.
Right
So
on.
yeah, so my wife's the better looking one, obviously, but and she always laughs. She's like, "Of course, you always have your cell phone in your hand." So I got mine with the cell phone in the hand.
Right on. That is so good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Those are great things to add to your collection, and yeah, I
Yeah,
would
it's just
encourage you to keep going.
yeah. Alexandra Hoffman wrote this really good book. It's right there called Big Dreams. She's from Edmonton, and it's about a young girl who overcomes the stereotype and plays football. So, yeah. So if anyone is watching and they want it, it's a really good. It's a kid's book, obviously, but it's called Big Dreams by Alexandra Hoffman.
Mhm.
Check it out. It's a great book. Very empowering for young girls who want to get into, like bantam football and whatnot. So.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
good deal. Well, I think we'll end it there.
Sure.
We've done our hour, but this was a good show and tell,
Yeah.
that sort of
Fun.
thing. So yeah, it's good to get the wheels going again here for the upcoming football season, and again, wish you all the best with your football there with the Rage, and
Thank you.
being a season ticket holder for the Stamps. As far as that goes, so I mean those are all new and neat experiences, and
Yeah.
yeah, and I
If
hope to see you in Winnipeg in November.
if I can find some cheap tickets, because I was looking already and oh my God, they're expensive and the season hasn't even started yet. So if I, you
Okay.
know what? Yeah, I've got my tickets for the Vanier in Regina at Mosaic the
Mhm.
week after Grey Cup. So yeah, you know what? If I can find decently priced tickets for Grey Cup, or if any fans of either of the show want to sponsor 2 tickets for me to come out, I'll be there.
I got a question then. How much are they going for? Like I've already got mine, as I say, but as I've said, but
I saw cheap tickets for 550 each.
like
Yeah.
upper deck.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, and people are like, "Oh, that's not expensive." Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
For a one income family in Alberta, that's expensive.
Well, yeah, when you go there, it's not just that, it's your hotel, it's everything else.
I
And
always stay at the same hotel in Winnipeg. I always stay at the Sandman.
nice.
Yeah.
By the airport there.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. And it's just down from Polo Park. It's right
Yeah.
there. It's in like the perfect spot for me. I like it. So I always stay at that same hotel. Every time I come to Winnipeg, that's where I stay.
Nice. I
Yep.
I kind of feel bad then for maybe the deal I got being a season ticket holder.
Well, of course, right? Like you're gonna get better, just like next year, right? I'm gonna have really sick ones next year because the Grey Cup's in Calgary.
Hmm.
So, and I've got my season tickets. So you think I'm not gonna capitalize on that? Of course I'm gonna capitalize on that.
Yeah. Yeah. No question, right? So
Yep.
that's good. Good, good.
All
Well,
right.
this has been awesome. But yeah, well, I'll have you on again here, Anthony. But yeah, I really appreciate all the insights that you bring.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Anytime. I love yours is the only show that I do repeatedly. So anytime you want me to ramble on for an hour, I'm all about it. So,
Hey, I deeply appreciate it, honestly. It's so good. It's great.
all right.
Okay, all the best and have a good night.
You too.
Thanks. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.